Writer-director Ivan Kavanagh, who delivered one of the most powerful horror films I've seen in recent years, The CANAL, is back again with another harrowing tale of the horrors of parenting. The CANAL was laced with all kinds of ghostly phenomenon, yet made it all with a super strong psychological bend. Son is his new movie, and it's just as psychologically twisted, but this time deals with demons, cults, abuse, and paranoia. Welcome back to ML Miller Frights, a part of the Kings of Horror Network. I'm ML Miller. While you might be watching this video on the Kings of Horror Network, I urge you to click over to my ML Miller Frights YouTube page and give it a like. Please share with all of your buddies. Click subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to ring that bell for notifications. Son is new in theaters, on demand, and digital download from RLJE Films and Shudder. It's directed and written by Ivan Kavanagh. Son begins with a bang, with Halloween 2018's Andi Matichik playing Laura, distraught, mud-covered, and very pregnant, trying to get a moment's peace in a diner despite her appearance. When two men enter the diner, she immediately races out and drives into the stormy night, only to pull over later and have her baby screaming, "I don't want you." That's when the film skips forward to what looks to be a decade as Laura struggles to manage night school, teach at a kindergarten, and raise her 10-year-old son David, played by Luke David Blum. One night, Laura wakes to a noise only to find a group of people standing in David's room. After fleeing to call the police, she returns home to find David passed out in his bed. Concerned cop, Paul, played by Emil Hirsch, arrives on the scene, and despite his partner believing Laura dreamed the whole break-in up, Paul assures her that he believes her and will help her. Soon after, David's health begins to deteriorate rapidly, breaking out in blisters, experiencing seizures, and being overwhelmed with an unquenchable hunger. While the doctors have no explanation as to what is happening, David remarkably gets better overnight, and while friendly cop Paul reassures Laura that she has nothing to worry about and even makes the moves on her in her kitchen, Laura begins to see mysterious people around her home, and David begins exhibiting the symptoms again a few days later. Eventually we find out about Laura's traumatic and complicated past, involving a cult, a deal with the devil, and her son exhibiting signs that he may be becoming a demon. Or, and that's a big or, all of this is just in Laura's head as a result of deep buried trauma she experienced as a kid. While there is definitely something wrong with David, the audience isn't made privy as to whether it's some kind of unknown medical anomaly or the result of him being the son of a demon. I liked a lot of this film and felt as if it told an intriguing tale that blended supernatural elements, past trauma, and mental illness well. The film basically has Laura on the run with David for the latter half, with Paul and the rest of the cops one step behind her. Bodies are left in mom and son's wake, and while the film tries to keep it fuzzy, I think it shows its cards a little bit too early. Then again, the Laura and David scenes are told from her perspective, so it's possible that what is shown isn't exactly the real deal. I think it gets a bit messy and the longer the spree goes on, and this weakens the fun back and forth of is it or isn't it supernatural. This is the same seesaw battle that permeated the CANAL, but I think that film did a better job than Son, simply because the film concentrates on Laura and David for so much screen time. I understand why this occurs. The scenes of Laura and David attempting to keep things together while on the run from what may or may not be an imaginary cult do have their moments. There's some exciting and gory stuff going on there. But once the bodies start piling up, it's clear that, cult or not, Laura is in a pretty dire situation and past the point of return, leading to a somewhat predictable ending. One of the things about Son that didn't work for me is that I feel that the two leads, Andi Matichik and Emil Hirsch, are miscast. Both are decent actors and I've enjoyed them in their past performances, but Hirsch is simply too small in stature to play the detective role. He's walking around in a coat 2 sizes too big for him and really doesn't sell the hardened cop role at all. There are some scenes that feel forced, mainly the ones where it seems he has no job other than to show up at Laura's home when something goes wrong, and the intimate moments where they seem to be forming a budding relationship. Andi Matichak is a fine actress, but for some reason she looked and felt too glamorous to be a single mom here. This is a film that revolves around the relationship between mother and son, and while the music, direction, editing, and acting wanted me to feel for Laura's plight, I just didn't buy it. Matichak felt too young and too fresh to be a woman carrying the burden of young motherhood, past trauma and abuse, and severe mental illness. Because these two main roles felt off, it was difficult for me to feel the overwhelming emotion Son was going for. Son gets gory. Its filmmaker Ivan Kavanagh has a lot of talent delivering terrifying scenes that twist expectations and warp perception. Real or not, I love the subtle way the demon is represented as a blurry shape in the background or something stirring just out of range of the camera. There's a lot to like here, but I think this is a flawed film. In the end, I think, beyond the miscasting, the choice to follow Laura and David on the run and show so much of the horrors that they encounter, experience, and leave in their wake was a mistake. It answered too many questions too early. I feel had the film left more of the Laura-David stuff a mystery and leaned into the scenes of the cops on their trail investigating the case, the mystery of is it or isn't it supernatural would have been a much more compelling one. This slight shift in perspective and possibly later reveal of the exact subgenre of horror we were watching would have changed Son from good to great. That'll be it for today. Please chime in down below in the comments and let me know how on the nose or mind-numbingly wrong I am, or you can counter with your own review. So guys, you know how YouTube works. I'd love to be able to dedicate more time to this channel. I'm not monetized yet, so if you want to help me out, remember to hit all the pertinent bells and whistles down below. Want some spooky comics to read? I have 2 new horror comic book trade paperbacks you should look out for. Both Gravetrancers and Pirouette, collecting never-before-published issues, can be found in only the finest of comic book shops. If you're looking for written reviews, you can find them on my website, mlmillerwrites.com. If you really want to show your support, I also have a Patreon page at mlmiller. Look for the link to my Patreon page down below. Thank you so much for your time, and take care.
You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be, stuck inside your reality. You're